What would make a stoic star like Miles Wei visibly shake? And why did the entire internet freeze the moment Shen Yue stepped back into his life? Because this was not just a reunion. It was an emotional earthquake that shattered everything he had held together for years. You thought you knew their story, but the truth is far deeper and far darker than anyone ever imagined. Because the moment Shen Yue walked through that silent doorway, Miles Wei's entire world turned upside down, revealing a side of him no one has ever seen. Before we dive into this emotional storm, make sure you subscribe now, because what you are about to hear will change everything you think you know about their past and their connection. Miles Wei's shocking reaction to Shen Yue's homecoming. A very lengthy, dramatic, emotional fictional article written in pure voiceover style. The moment the door creaked open, the entire house seemed to inhale. Every light felt dimmer. Every shadow stretched longer. There was a soft echo of footsteps outside, a sound so faint it almost blended with the air. But Miles Wei heard it. He heard it, as if someone had struck a deep silver bell right beside his chest. His hand froze over the script he had been pretending to read all evening. His breath caught. His pulse throbbed in his throat. It was a sound he had memorized years ago without even meaning to. Shen Yue's steps. Soft. Careful. Carrying something unsaid every single time. He stood up without knowing he had moved. His fingers trembled. His eyes widened. For a moment, he was no longer the controlled actor the world thought he was. He was simply a man whose entire past had just stepped back into the hallway. The door opened all the way. And there she was.
Shen Yue.
Quiet.
Still.
Wearing the same gentle expression the world adored, but with a new heaviness behind her eyes. A heaviness that told stories she had never said out loud. The warm light from the living room touched her face, and she blinked slowly, as if she was returning to a place filled with unfinished sentences. Miles could not speak at first. His throat locked tight. Shen Yue gave a small smile, the kind people use when they want to say more but cannot find where to begin. That one smile sent a wave through him that almost sent him stumbling backward. Everything inside him broke open. He stepped toward her once, then stopped. His voice cracked. He whispered her name like it was fragile, like it might disappear again if he said it too loudly. She looked up, and for a brief moment their eyes met. One silent second that felt like an entire lifetime. One second where the truth they had both been burying rose between them like a storm. Shen Yue looked away quickly, as if the weight of his gaze was too much. She swallowed, her hands clasped together tightly. Miles noticed the slight tremble in her fingers. He knew that tremble.
It was the same one he felt right now.
The same one they both carried on the last day they saw each other before everything shattered. She tried to speak, but her voice failed. She tried again, and her voice came out softer than ever. She said she only came to return something. Something she had kept for far too long. Miles heard the words, but they did not make sense. She had come home. After months of silence. After months of running from emotions neither of them dared confront. Returning something could not be the only reason her eyes looked so tired, so full, so fragile. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small object wrapped in a faded cloth. She held it out with trembling hands. Miles stared at it, but his vision blurred as if the world was swaying. He knew what it was before she even unwrapped it. His breath vanished. His chest tightened unbearably. It was the small silver pendant he had given her the night everything changed. The night she cried on his shoulder and whispered a truth he never expected to hear. The night he almost confessed something he had been hiding for years. She unwrapped the cloth slowly. The pendant lay in her palm like a memory that had finally resurfaced. Miles felt his legs weaken. He looked up at her face. She had tears pressing behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She held the pendant toward him and whispered that she could not keep it anymore. Those words sent an earthquake through him. He finally stepped forward. His hands shook as he held hers for the first time in months. He felt her fingers tense and relax in the same breath. Her eyes flickered up to meet his for a second before dropping again. He asked softly if returning the pendant was the real reason she came. His voice sounded nothing like his usual calm tone. It sounded wounded and raw. Shen Yue did not answer immediately. Her silence told him everything. Silence is a confession the heart can never hide. Suddenly her voice cracked, and she admitted something she had never dared say. She said she missed the way he made the world quieter. She missed the way he listened to her even when she had nothing to say. She missed the person she became when she stood beside him. Miles felt something collapse inside him. A quiet collapse. A collapse no one else would ever witness. He asked her why she left then. Why she stayed away. Why she shut him out. Her breath trembled. She wiped her cheek as though she had been fighting the urge to cry since she walked in. She whispered that leaving him was the only way she knew to protect him. That sentence hit him like a storm. He whispered her name again, but this time it cracked in the middle. She stepped back slightly as though afraid of her own confession. She said the world had been cruel to her. She said the rumors had eaten her alive. She said she could not stand the idea of dragging him into the darkness she walked through every day. Miles felt fire in his chest. A quiet fire. Not anger. Something deeper. Something that made his voice tremble as he told her she never dragged him into anything. He said he walked there willingly. He said every shadow she stepped into he stepped into right behind her. She blinked quickly. Her tears finally fell. And when they did, it was like the dam they had both been holding back finally broke. Suddenly, she stopped talking. She pressed her hands against her face and cried silently. Miles stepped forward without thinking and wrapped his arms around her. She froze at first, then leaned into him with all the exhaustion she had been carrying for months. His grip tightened. He held her like he was afraid she might vanish again. The room stayed silent except for her quiet sobs against his chest and the soft sound of his trembling breath. It felt like forgiveness. It felt like truth. It felt like two people who had been running in circles for far too long finally stopping to face the same direction. After a long moment, she lifted her head. She whispered that she did not know if she deserved to come home. Miles cupped her face gently and told her she never left. Not really. She looked at him through tear-stained lashes, and he saw the girl he once loved with a quiet obsession he never admitted to anyone. She asked him one final question. A question that shook the core of everything between them. She asked if he had moved on. His answer came out like a confession he had been holding behind every breath. He said he tried. He said he tried more times than he could count. But every time he tried, he saw her face in the spaces she used to fill. Every time. Her eyes trembled again. She stepped closer slowly, as though approaching something she feared might break if she moved too fast. She whispered that she did not know what to do with that truth. Miles stepped even closer until there was barely space between their breaths. He told her she did not need to know. Not yet. Not tonight. He said the only thing that mattered was that she came home. The room fell into a deep stillness. A stillness thick with unspoken promises and buried emotions rising to the surface one by one. She looked at him again. And in that quiet moment, Miles Wei showed the world a side of himself no one had ever seen. Vulnerable. Trembling. Completely undone by one woman's return. The door behind her slowly drifted shut. The outside world disappeared. Inside the living room, two hearts that had been wandering for too long found their way back to the same quiet place. Her homecoming was not a reunion. It was a revelation. A truth neither of them could deny any longer. And it was only the beginning.